Welcome back to the ManTFup Man Cave, everybody. I'm Kimmy B.
And Lenny.
And let me tell you something, Len. 2024 is coming in hot. We got a lot to talk about. It is officially season 3, episode 2, a.k.a. episode, 78?
78.
Oh, my goodness, in the grand scheme of things. So if you're just tuning in and this is your first ManTFup podcast, you got some catching up to do. But welcome. And before we go any further, please subscribe. I'm trying to combine quite a few words there. Like, subscribe, share, follow, and get ready to drop your comments below any of the clips that you may see. I'm sure you will agree or disagree with
whatever we're talking about.
Either one or both of us
and by the way,
during
audience,
this conversation. What?
I appreciate you guys all consoling me on episode 77.
Oh my God. Len, please. Please. Wishful thinking. Wishful thinking. But I said it. 2024 coming in hot. We're not even through the first month of the year.
No.
The Epstein list has been revealed. We've already had some major celebrity drama to talk about. And I am, of course, referencing the Aaron Rodgers, Jimmy Kimmel debacle, which kind of brought in the new year. It was something that I wanted to discuss just because topically it has been looming over our heads for years. And by topically, I'm talking about this whole Epstein thing, right? And it has had its hand in so many major moments in American history since it started kind of unfurling, right?
JFK level conspiracy shit.
Bro, but beyond that, though, it has impacted elections. It has impacted, the way our democracy runs. It has impacted it's people's lives. It's wild. And it's also, brought to the forefront of conversation, trafficking, what's really happening in Hollywood and with our power players and our one percenters. It has gotten the dark web probably more attention and traction than ever before.
10 years ago, this would have been a conspiracy.
Are you implying that it's not a conspiracy? Or?
Well, I mean, I'm implying that a lot of stuff has come out that made it fact. If someone said 10 years before he got caught that he was doing all this, people would have said, "You're out of your fucking mind. That guy's the fucking top shelf fucking investor in the country. He's just got all these powerful friends." Yeah, I think. I think because if it wasn't deemed a conspiracy, he would have got caught a lot earlier. Because, he did in Palm Beach get caught a lot earlier.
But that...
But whatever.
We're not necessarily here to talk about all the ins and outs of the Epstein situation because, my God, there are entire podcasts dedicated to just that. True crime, but it's just about this man and about all of the madness surrounding him. I have definitely watched quite a few docuseries and things like that about both he and Ghislaine Maxwell and then the people that were involved. And we're finding out more about that, with every day that passes. But the Aaron Rodgers, Jimmy Kimmel situation, I think touches on some very important cultural things having to do with social media in particular. Obviously, quote unquote, conspiracy theories, distinguishing between fact and fake news or facts and fiction, how easily people are manipulated.
Yeah,
also,
it's the power of social media and
due diligence.
Again, listen, if you believe everything you hear on social media, you're a fucking idiot to begin with.
Well, this wasn't even something that this isn't even something that you read. These are words that came out of someone's mouth on a podcast.
Play the Aaron clip.
And we'll get into it.
Roxy or somebody back
Seats
there.
on it.
You have Super Bowl 58.
You'll see it.
The emblem. Put it on the screen. And then bring up 57 and 56.
This has something to do with the Epstein list that came out?
Feels like
That's supposed to be coming out soon.
Look, this guy's been waiting in his wine cellar.
Yeah.
I've been waiting in my wine cellar for this thing.
A lot of people, including Jimmy Kimmel, are really hoping that doesn't.
All right. Obviously, a clip from this particular program was run on Jimmy Kimmel's show whenever Aaron brought up the list, and then Jimmy mocked him for it. Aaron has not forgotten about that, but here we are sitting right in front of that nice bottle of scotch.
All right, so that's basically the gist of what was said That's the Pat McAfee live show. If you don't know, it's on ESPN. It's a podcast, but also obviously has a visual component to it. I didn't realize there's a ticker that runs underneath the screen. Did you see it, Lenny?
Mm-mm.
And basically it says, this is a bunch of stooges talking nonsense about sports and pop culture. It's supposed to be comedic, informative. Yeah. The views expressed here do not necessarily reflect any sort of facts, nor do they reflect ESPN, our bosses, or whatever. I mean, but it doesn't necessarily give you pure license to just...
Okay, so let me play the
Especially if you're not a comedian.
Let me play the clip they were referencing in there that Aaron hasn't forgotten about. And this is Jimmy Kimmel show.
Needless to say, all this UFO talk has the tinfoil hatters going wild, including Green Bay whackpacker Aaron Rodgers, who offered this hot take on the Pat McAfee show.
I believe that this has been going on for a long time. Interesting timing on everything. There's a lot of other things going on in the world. Did you hear about the Epstein client list about to be released too?
What's that? What are you talking about?
There's some files that have some names on it that might be getting released pretty soon.
Oh. Might be time to revisit that concussion protocol,
Aaron. So obviously, Pat loves having Aaron on, Pat McAfee.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron's a pretty frequent guest on that particular podcast. Obviously, that clip is old because Kimmel referenced him as being a Packer. We know he's been a part of the New York Jets organization for a while. They were also referencing, I'm assuming, when all that UFO, remember when the gentleman testified in front of Congress about UFOs, their very real existence, alien bodies and things of that nature. And he tried to pivot and bring up the Epstein list. And if you've followed this story, obviously it is very real. We know Epstein was in jail when he died, whether he died of suicide, as they would like people to believe, or if he was murdered to keep him quiet. You know what I mean? There's no. I mean, these are all the conversations. There are some people out there who may not have any idea what we're talking about. But the Epstein list, I believe, was a huge proponent of Pizzagate, all of this pedophilia talk as far as politicians go. Like, this was circa 2016. This was very much a part of the Trump-Hillary election. This was one of the reasons why that gentleman drove to Washington, D.C. and showed up at the pizza parlor with AR-15 or whatever it was, and didn't shoot anybody, but he was convinced that there were children being held hostage in a supply closet. That was the Pizzagate reference. Remember that they were saying that Washington politicians and, you know, lobbyists and just high-profile people were using pizza codes to order children from this particular pizza parlor. And a gentleman that is on some of these, you know, again, dark websites, took it as gospel and wanted to go do some investigating and thought he was going to rescue some children. And instead he got himself arrested. And thank God nobody got injured. That was really the true blessing of that whole situation. But my point is, the Epstein file, the Epstein situation has been, I want to say, one of the main contributors to the political division in this country. I mean, so many things. The cultural division, climate of the country.
It's definitely been one of the distractions over the past 6 years, 7 years. Definitely.
All right. So now, and it's coming to a head now, obviously, because Ghislaine is still here. And that was, you know, she's got
and her trial is over, and she's got 20 years. So,
and again, she didn't really release any information. That was the whole deal there.
Well, I mean, they didn't want to release it. The government said they didn't want to release it because it could.
Well, she also got 20 years, so she didn't
affect the trial.
She didn't turn state's evidence on a whole lot of people. I mean, that was the whole deal. They were expecting, people were hoping she was going to give point a lot more fingers and give a lot more information, with the hopes of getting a lesser sentence.
She saw what happened to
1,000, I'm not going to disagree. And I by no means think that there is no truth. You know what I'm saying? Like, we know that there is shady shit happening all over the world. But my issue with this particular conversation or comment that Aaron Rodgers made on the Pat McAfee show is that I feel like he made it flippantly and he made it without thinking about the consequences of his actions or the impact that those words could have. And Jimmy Kimmel took major issue with it. You know this because
I get it.
He ended up, releasing
a
statement.
What if the NFL took major issue with the concussion?
The NFL did take major issue with Aaron Rodgers when he lied about being back.
No, with the concussion.
But you know why it got to that point with Jimmy Kimmel is because Aaron, over the past few years, an incredible athlete, his contribution to sport is undeniable, has become more vocal, as many people in this country have, right, about the things that they've read, seen, examined further via the internet, whether it has to do with QAnon, whether it has to do with Epstein, whether it has to do with, policy and politics. Like, people have just become much more vocal. The conspiracy theorists, as they have been labeled, are no longer this small little fragment or faction.
They have a voice.
1,000%. And so he has become, as people on other sides of the conversation have stars or have, people with significant, social media presence to be their mouthpiece. He has become a mouthpiece for many of these things, whether it's UFOs, the Epstein list, anti-vaxxing, whatever, right? So that's where Kimmel was coming from. I think that they disagreed with a lot of things.
I would venture to say that 99.9% of the conspiracy theorists are not violent people or people who are going to take that as something where they might want to.
Then it takes one.
I get it, but it only takes one. It only takes one in any instance.
Okay, but here's the thing. Me saying you need concussion protocol because you're saying you're basically saying Kimmel started it. That's Len's. Don't those who live in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. Whatever your argument is for the situation.
You take shots at someone you already think is a cuckoo. Okay, he knows and is clearly saying that Aaron Rodgers might be a little cuckoo. He's implying that. So you take a shot.
He's a pedophile.
You take a shot. I don't care what he's implying. If this was the real world before social media, and Kimmel said something to Aaron Rodgers' face, and Aaron punched him in the face, you would be arguing that
that's Aaron.
Words don't mean violence. Well, if you say a certain thing to someone and they punch you in the face, it's what it is.
Okay, but that's between Aaron and Jimmy. That's between Aaron and Jimmy. When Aaron took it to the Pat McAfee show on January 2nd of 2024, months and months and months and months and months and months and months, and a whole new team and a whole new injury, and nobody was sliding in Aaron's DMs talking about, I'm going to come kill you, you deserve to die, you shouldn't have children, you're a pedophile, because Jimmy Kimmel said, you might want to go through.
It's the first ammunition he had. So he used it.
Okay, there's Lenny. Unfortunately, though, there are repercussions. And when you're talking about this particular subject, the repercussions really can be physical harm. Again, I will go back to Pizzagate and a gentleman getting in his car and driving from one state to our nation's capital with an assault rifle, where he then walked into a pizza parlor with a bunch of families inside on the hunt for children he was convinced were being trafficked to our nation's politicians.
I get it.
Out of sheer luck, no one was injured in that situation. No one. But how many people could have been? He showed up with an assault rifle. to a family pizza joint.
I get it.
That's the kind of lunacy we're dealing with when it comes to the internet and this particular subject in general. You want to talk about Jimmy's politics, you want to call him a snowflake, you want to say any of these other things, he's still going to get vitriol on social media. When you imply that he's on Epstein's list, you're implying he's a pedo. Like, that's what this is. That is the correlation that everybody makes between Epstein and anybody associated with him at this point. And that's the other part of my frustration with the conversation, because there's a lot of people's names. There's over 160 names, right? The list is out. They're going out? Yeah. They're going through, and like Michael Jackson was on the list. Obviously, Wexner was on the list, which we knew. He's the limited, the express guy, the Victoria's Secret guy. He was the guy who was funding Epstein. And again, a lot of this information has been out for a long time. Like, we all know Bill Clinton was on his plane. Bill has said he was on his plane. We know this. We know Trump was on the plane. Like, there are people, I'm like, I don't understand why this continues to be like we've known. You know what I'm saying? And the people that accused these men of doing these things have been very clear in who they named. Prince Andrew has been named on multiple occasions.
Yeah, but there's also pictures of Prince Andrew.
But this is my point is, though, is that, even these girls are saying, I can tell you he had a big plane. This is a man who was extremely philanthropic for all the wrong reasons, as we now know, right? Like, he was dealing with people at the highest levels of business and enterprise and industry and politics and government from around the world, right? Because that's what money gives you access to. Does that mean that every person that came into contact with him had that type of relationship? No. But according to the internet, yes. Yes, it does. That's the wild part about where we're at in 2024, and why simply going on a podcast that gets millions of views and saying something like that is so dangerous.
So you're telling me that there's no one on the other side that might think or think that Aaron Rodgers is dangerous because he's crazy. You can't stand here and call someone a lunatic, and then if they call you a pedophile back...
Two different things, Len. Different things.
I beg to differ. Because, first of all, both of those things were supposed comedy shots, okay? So...
Yeah, but one's a comedian, one is a professional athlete. You're not a comic. We already know this.
The show has a prereq.
No. But Pat's not a... No, I get what you're saying. The ticker runs below it. Aaron Rodgers has never been thought of as a comedian. That's like, you don't get to have... Because you're the first person that'll sit up here and say, I want my comedians to go out there and say things. This is what they do. So if you are a Kimmel fan... not that you're not putting stock in what he's saying, but it's like, he's a comedian. That's his job, is to do that. Aaron was intentionally trying to defame somebody's character because he's in his feelings that, he's being...
And he called him a lunatic.
He didn't say that.
Whack packer, tin hat wearing, conspiracy theorist.
He didn't say you're a lunatic.
Might be considered calling someone a lunatic.
But literally, he has no problem. Even his boys said the tinfoil. Even his friends
I get it.
So
he owns it.
With that being said, he knows the repercussions. We've seen, Lenny, these people wish death on people. Like, these people have tried to kidnap governors of states. There was a whole insurgence on our Capitol. Many of the individuals involved in that, beyond not believing that the election results were fair, also subscribe to this whole other side of the conversation, which has to do with Epstein and pedophilia. Like, you remember a big part of why people wanted Trump elected, right? Especially the QAnon people. It was because he was, like, literally supposed to team up with the returning of JFK, and they were going to behead everybody in Washington, and they were going to dismantle the cabal, and all of these pedos were going to be, put on Front Street and and we were going to see them for who they really were. Like, that was the other part of the conversation, aside from the business folks who were like, listen, talk to me about taxes and everything else. There was a very cultural...
Well, don't you think that comes from people not trusting their government? I mean, draining the swamp is the thing you're talking about. And I don't know, extremists might have said, "Oh, we should behead all the senators, whatever, whoever."
These are middle American. No. See, this is the problem. You really haven't. If that's what you think, you haven't done. We're talking about yoga groups. Like, that was the whole deal with where QAnon was able to go. Like, because of the people feel very, and rightfully so. People are protective of children, right?
Absolutely.
So when you find a way to, it's similar to abortion in the 70s and the early 80s, right? You have a group of staunch religious individuals who feel like they're going to lose their, 501c3 status if they don't get their acts together. So they find something else to rally the troops on, right? So that they can maintain their power in Washington. And they chose abortion as that issue, right? Because they knew if they can get middle American moms on board, right? Now, they couldn't get them to back them in blatant segregation and racism. They really, this isn't the hill we're going to die on. But abortion, and it's worked for them. They've become extremely evangelical, very powerful. And if you're a Republican, you can't really get elected without their cosign, which means you normally have to switch if you are pro-choice to pro-life, right? Like, we've seen it happen. Reagan did it. Bush did it. I'm sure Bush's son realized, and I don't know if he ever didn't have that stance, but we've seen it happen on multiple occasions. Trump did it, for God's sakes. So we know if you can use the kids, you can usually get the women, and that's what they did. They got educated, middle-class, yoga and Pilates doing moms to go head first into this whole, like, we must protect our children at all costs, right? And we've heard the rumblings, and we know with power and with privilege comes perversity in a lot of situations, right? There's nothing new to that conversation, but now all of a sudden you had a face and you had photos and you had accusation, you know what I mean? At a time when that distrust and that mistrust in government was growing.
Listen, again, to the point of what happened here is I don't think that anyone should be what's a delicate way to put this? I think if you're going to take a shot at someone and they fucking hit you back, even if they fucking kick you in the balls, you deserved it. So it's, okay, did Aaron step over the line because
even Pat McAfee said he did.
Okay, so fine. Aaron stepped over the line, but you can't expect not to get that. And that is what people...
No, I disagree.
People, listen.
There's no accountability there. Lenny, you know exactly what you say when you say it. And at this point in the game, when you have that kind of power and you have that kind of clout and you have that kind of presence in that space, and you know how quickly people will take things out of context and run with it, you showed me a meme. Aaron Rodgers said Jimmy Kimmel's on the list.
Yeah.
It's not what he said.
Yeah, I know that.
Right? He said, I don't know.
He might be nervous.
Jimmy might not want that list to come out, right? All it takes is an implication. And the next thing you know, the internet is a fire with all of these different narratives. And to the folks who don't want to know any more than Jimmy Kimmel is a left-leaning liberal snowflake that weren't looking... Do you understand what I'm saying?
I get it.
That's all the ammo they need. And this is a sensitive... We saw what people did to the folks from... Oh, my goodness. Why is my brain not working? Town in Connecticut with the shooting. The kids.
Town in Connecticut.
Alex Jones just went to trial for saying that it was all false.
Yeah.
I just am not remembering the name, and this is horrible.
Yes. Might want to cut this out. We just talked about it.
I know we did. But the point is, those people, death threats, those all because somebody went on a podcast and went on the internet and made these, wildly false allegations.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, because he said it never happened.
And so they were lying.
Yes.
And then said kids were, child actors and all of this craziness.
I get it.
So words have a whole different. They've always held power. We've known this for a long time. It's written in the Bible, for God's sakes. Your tongue is your greatest weapon. They have a different kind of power now, especially in this country and with regards to certain things. So I believe Aaron, as much as he said it, watching the clip in jest, right? I think he knew exactly what he was doing, and Kimmel has every right. And it's not like it's out of control. Kimmel said, "Hey, asshole, you put my family in danger. And if you keep this shit up, well, we can discuss it in court." Basically, he just said, like, this is defamatory. And this isn't.
I'm not mad that Kimmel wrote that or fired back. That is what it is, and Aaron should drop it. That's fine. But it was said and it was done, but that's today.
But it's not okay. Like, this is, I feel like, where again is the accountability, Lenny? You have to know better, because we've already seen it. We have examples of people acting out violently off of less.
Yeah, but
with
we
less
also have
credible
examples
sources.
of people acting out violently over a million different reasons, not just this one. There's wackos everywhere. They're out there. But how many of these incidents? Guarantee you, there's a car parked in this parking lot belongs to somebody who will kill you.
But in 2024, we can trace a lot of these incidents back to social media. A lot of these people, half of the people that are doing time right now for January 6th, where were they recruited? Where did they get their information from? It was social media. It was the internet. Before that, how many times do we have to hear the story about, my cousin or my friend or my brother or my mom or my uncle, whatever, they were quote unquote, and I don't, again, they were normal, and then all of a sudden they found a website, or we went into lockdown for COVID, and they just spent all day, every day on the internet, and it's the wormhole, right? It's the rabbit hole, and it's easy to fall down it. But when you know the power of the platform that you're on and that you're using, where do we finally say you have to be accountable? We came for our president for not being for being reckless.
Who's to say that you're reaching inside someone's feelings now too, because he took a shot at Aaron. How do you know that didn't bother Aaron? How do you know Aaron's not, it's like but you crossed the line. I come from a school of you didn't cross the line. If you take a shot at me, I'm going to take a shot at you. And no matter what that is,
Lenny, no. So make up your mind, though. If you have a problem with me, right? Mm-hmm. You want to have some words? Come on my show.
Mm-hmm. I feel you.
Come on my show. That's a pussy move. He's sitting in a wine cellar with a fucked up Achilles, drinking his scotch, as Pat McAfee pointed out, just talking shit, putting it out on the internet.
Well, he was waiting to open his scotch.
No.
He was waiting to open it.
But you don't think Jimmy would have him on the show? Those guys live for that shit. Come on down, bro.
Oh, that's what he should have said.
Let's go. No, because Aaron can't have that conversation. Because at the end of the day, I don't think at the end of the day, when you sit two people in a room together, right, that have just such different, it's this fucking podcast, right? I think that at the end of the day, is Jimmy ever going to agree with him about some of the tinfoil hat wearing comments he makes? No. But at least Aaron could have said, I was upset when you said it. You know what I mean? Man up. You got something to say? Go on Jimmy's show and say it. Don't just lob it out there and then sit back and go, what did I say? Oh, I didn't say anything. Like, no, you knew exactly what you were doing. And from a bigger picture, this is what we talk about on this show all the time. It's like, where does the accountability come into play? Like, Twitter fingers turn into trigger fingers and all of this stuff. Like, the shit that gets said, like, people have lost their lives because, of swatting incidents on Twitter, or formerly, X now, whatever. It's powerful. And you're giving people the benefit of the doubt that, they're going to know it was a joke. Nah. The people, guess, you know who doesn't know it was a joke? The people who don't want to know it was a joke. The people who want to believe that Jimmy Kimmel is a pedophile and was a part of the Epstein, child trafficking cabal that every famous person in Hollywood and in Washington, like that everybody's a part of. Right? Those people don't want to know that Aaron was joking and Aaron doesn't believe that Jimmy Kimmel's on that list. And maybe Aaron does. I don't know. But with that, Kimmel works in the same place every single day. Somebody could be standing waiting for him outside. He's not the president. He doesn't have Secret Service. I'm sure he has security. But, these guys don't have to go around living like that. And he didn't say anything that every sports pundit hasn't said about Aaron Rodgers, that the NFL hasn't said about Aaron Rodgers, that Aaron's teammates haven't said about Aaron Rodgers.
I get it.
Nobody. And now, guess what? Kimmel will forever be linked to the Epstein thing.
I don't.
No, forever. As soon as your name gets thrown in there from a celebrity perspective, because again, that meme is out there. Read the comments underneath these posts. And then the folks who can't understand why somebody would be this angry about it, that's the other thing that was kind of grinding my gears a little bit. Oh, you seem a little mad for it not to be true. And it's like, no, bro, a man drove to a pizza parlor with a gun because he thought he was going to save some kids. If people think you're a pedophile and that you're never going to be punished because you're famous, they do crazy shit.
Yeah, I feel you.
Do you know what I'm saying? So the fact that we can still be in 2024 and people can still play willfully ignorant when it suits their narrative, that's the shit that bothers me. I get what you're saying about, concussion protocol. Is it right? No. Do you want your comedians to be completely censored in that way? Absolutely not. That's what Kimmel does.
To be thick skin enough to take it when it comes back.
Come on the show. You want to, but that's like saying somebody should be able to go up on stage and punch a comedian in the face because he clowns on you in the audience.
Will Smith did it.
That's not what I'm talking about. No, he didn't.
He did. Chris Rock was clowning on his wife. And he walked up there and smacked him.
And nobody thought it was the right thing.
Well, I guess nobody in that circle.
Lenny, you go to comedy shows. If somebody makes fun of you, if you paid to see this man make fun of you,
I feel you.
You do
right.
not agree with that at all.
You're
all. You'd be like, you're a fucking pussy. Why'd you go to the show? You don't get to just go up and punch a comedian in the face because they said something about your stupid too tight shirt. You paid to go see them do that.
Yes.
You're just now mad.
That.
Well,
yes, there's definitely context.
But what I'm telling you, though, is this is what they have monologues for this purpose. If you are another person, they don't do it to the random Joe Schmo on the street. They do it to other famous people because, quote unquote, you signed up for this shit, right? You're a professional athlete. You're an entertainer. You say some shit that not everybody agrees with or people start calling you kooky. You're food for fodder. Our president is food for fodder. The Pope is food for fodder.
Everybody is.
Everybody. But they don't really come for the everyday, it's usually the high profile, you know what I mean? In that sphere, it's a part of what you do, especially when it comes from comedians. And Kimmel is, in fact, a comedian. Letterman was a comedian. Conan O'Brien. They're all stand-ups. That's what they do for a living.
Feel you.
So that's a part of the whole, scenario. Again, I'm not mad at Aaron for firing shots. I wish he would have egged on the show. I'm mad at what he chose. There's 100 other things he could have used aside from that one that he did, especially knowing how
Kimmel referenced it in his monologue. He referenced Epstein in his monologue.
No, he referenced it because Aaron brought it up on the Pat McAfee show back then.
Yeah.
Yeah, so literally it was the whole thing. It was UFOs.
Yes.
It was it was a whole
So look
clip.
at the context. It's all been wrapped in that from McAfee to Kimmel and now back to McAfee. It's like a running joke that Aaron fired on. It's like I get that.
It's not a running joke.
I get
but
that
here's the deal.
people.
Kimmel wasn't the first one to point that out. That's what happened. Aaron Rodgers went on Pat McAfee's show back then and started talking about UFOs. This is post-vaccine controversy with him lying about being vaxxed and all of that, which had people talking when that occurred, right? So that put Aaron, that whole situation put Aaron on Front Street for a lot of his beliefs that had otherwise gone under the radar. Nobody knew that about him, right? We knew him as this incredible athlete, right? Nobody knew his political views. Nobody really knew anything else about it. And then he started vocalizing them, right? So when he went on Pat McAfee and he said these things and the world ate it up and social media started running with it. Hey, did you hear what Aaron? And again, every sports pundit and everybody was talking. It wasn't just Kimmel. Everyone was talking about it. He hasn't gone out there and said Stephen A. Smith is on Epstein's list. He hasn't gone out there and said this one's like, but Kimmel is also a super liberal, right? Like, we know this about him. So could there be a little bit more to this, this jabbery than just...
Maybe, but a shot is a shot. And, could there be more to it on Kimmel's side also? Maybe. I mean, listen, I don't believe that he should do something or say something that could put Kimmel in danger. That goes without saying. But there's wax on every side.
There is, Lenny, but the bigger part of this conversation for me, take Aaron and Jimmy Kimmel out of it, right? The internet is a powerful, powerful tool. And right now you have a lot of individuals that are of otherwise sound mind that are easily persuaded to believe horrible things about individuals that they don't agree with politically or culturally, right? And so this is a weapon of sorts, and all you have to do is lob an allegation in somebody's direction and you can get them. And this is on both sides. This is the same thing with the people that come for the quote unquote Karens, right? Get them fired and all of this without all the context. You see a 10-second video and the next thing you know, you want somebody's livelihood wiped away. You want them to lose their house. Like, you want all of it gone, right? So it's wild to me that we're in 2024 and we've also seen so many things debunked. We've seen that footage has been edited. We've seen that, when you watch it happens to us all the time with the way our clips get edited. And literally, if you saw the 60 seconds prior to or the 30 seconds after, what we said is completely opposite, right?
Yep.
But nobody wants to do that. They don't want to scroll back one clip or forward one clip to actually hear the whole conversation or watch the whole podcast. They just take what they see in those 10 or 15 seconds. That clip is not that long. It's 15 seconds of probably an hour-long show, right? And I guarantee you, if I went on Jimmy Kimmel's page, if I went on his Instagram right now and I scrolled through the comments post January 2nd, I'd see some really, really horrible shit.
Maybe.
It's not a maybe. It's a guarantee that why would he say you put my, you know what I'm saying? Like, this because people, I guarantee you're a pedo. You deserve to die. I hope you burn in hell. They're coming for you. Like it's happened to Chrissy Teigen. I'm sure it's happened to the Clintons. It's happened to, I think, anybody that has been, whose name has been lobbed out there when it has to do with these conversations. Like Chrissy and John lost a child. And the shit that people were saying on her social media was just like mind-blowing. And I actually had somebody come for me on one of my radio shows, Len, because I was saying exactly that. I was like, it was just, how can people be so vile towards one another? And they brought up something Chrissy had said on social media 15 years ago to a younger female who had been dating a much, much, much older celebrity. I can't remember her name right now. She ended up on one of those celebrity rehab shows or something, right? And I think Chrissy said something like, kill yourself. She said something crazy. And Chrissy has repeatedly apologized for it. But they're like, she's a baby killer. She's eating placenta. You deserve to lose your child. And again, these are women. These are mothers. These are women with children that are saying things like this to another woman who has just gone through one of the, if not the most traumatic experiences you could have.
I mean, but is this really that surprising? You know, it's like...
That humans are this horrible to one another? Yes.
Really? It surprises you?
Lenny.
I mean, what world do you live in that...
I don't...
You know,
do you think that that's right? You think that that's okay?
Do I think it's right? No. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is you're going to be... Public figures have always been targets. Always. For that. So, you know, you live with a hatchet hanging over your head at any time. You can say something fucked up. Look, I mean, plenty of people have self-sabotaged. I mean, Mel Gibson cut his own head off. Okay? It's so
on many occasions. And,
okay,
and
but
he's still a part of Hollywood.
Yes, and he's still a part of Hollywood. But what I'm saying to you is you get to that level and you have to know people are coming for you, and you have to know that people are insane. There's plenty of them out there. The only difference is now everyone has a voice, and you can't complain about whose voice you're listening to because it gives a voice to LGBTQ, it gives a voice to fucking QAnon, it gives a voice to everybody. So if you're going to sit back and go, what a cruel world this is, no, it's now everybody is in the same fucking place.
But there are people who before would have never... I don't agree with you. I don't agree with you at all.
Did you ever see that thing that they talked to you?
I don't know.
There's a movie on that says with Julia Roberts on Netflix called.
You're talking about it just came out.
Yeah.
No, I haven't watched it.
Yeah, Leave the World Behind. Watch this movie.
Lenny, make it relevant to our conversation because I haven't seen it. So what is your point?
Well, my point is that people are cruel, and I would bet the majority of people are haters. And especially in our country where they don't even necessarily love their country anymore. You know, it's like people are looking for constantly
but Lenny,
looking for.
We're in a place in time, though, now where words can equate to acts of mass violence very easily. We've seen it repeatedly. We watch people walk into churches.
So what are you saying? Should we censor it?
People up.
What are you saying? Should we stop it? Should we censor it?
I'm saying that we should hold people with large platforms that should know better accountable. Like
how?
What do you mean?
How do you want to hold them accountable?
Exactly
how do you
by what we're doing right now. Saying, Aaron, you should know better. Like it's a different conversation. I don't expect a peer of mine to put me in harm's way because they don't like something that I said, right? Like, again, let's be men about it and have a conversation. We can do it on a major platform if you want to. I have a whole television show you could come on, right? But instead, you were a passive-aggressive pussy and you lob some shit out there that could go very left, not just for the person that you implicated, but for their family, for their business associates, and all of this. It's powerful. And the other part of that is we need to do better as a society. Like the fact that you can sit there and go, does this surprise you? It's only getting worse because people are taking on that attitude. No, I was taught to treat people better than that. Like I would not go on. I don't have to like.
This world has been a horrible place always. There's been horrible people and horrible things happening in this world always. The only difference now is that everybody sees it the next day.
But Lenny, it's bigger than that though now. Like I get, I'm 1,000% aware the world is not a utopian society. 1,000% aware of that. However, in this particular space, you have children taking their own lives because they're inundated by the words of other children, right? You have a phone where I can now videotape you in a drunken stupor being raped, being sexually assaulted, and now the victim of that sexual assault becomes a victim time and time again because somebody decides to share a video on X or on Instagram or on TikTok or on any of these other, sites or whatever.
I get it.
Like, so it's changed. The vileness and the capacity for harm has been magnified now. So to sit back and say it's always been that way,
it's given the people who never had power.
No, but it's also
It's giving the keyboard warriors
That's
power.
not even a keyboard warrior. This is Len. It's so much bigger than just a keyboard warrior, though. It's like if you don't at some point realize or start to teach people that their words towards others have consequences on a large scale. Like, again, if I'm the cool kid at school, it's bigger. It's just bigger. If I'm the cool kid and I say that somebody, you know, is a slut, or I say whatever, and that's happened for generations. We know this. But it used to just be at that school, right? Maybe in that town or in that friend group. Now when you say it on Twitter and there's a picture of this girl and she tries to go to college, that's there. Or there's that video of her drunk showing her titty or whatever. So there's accountability on all fronts, but it's like, this isn't something to be, I mean, you should have known better when you fired a shot. Like, it's a much bigger conversation, and it's the willful ignorance of you not understanding the magnitude of that. Like, you sound like some of the people in the comments that I was like, don't act like you can't understand why somebody would be, if somebody called you a pedophile on social media, you wouldn't feel a way about that, knowing the power of social media and the impact that can have on your business, the impact that can have on your kids, that it's never going away.
Sue Aaron.
That's what he said he was going to do. But people are like, why is he so, and guess what? I can sue you, but guess what? It never takes it off the internet. Nope. It's never going away. And I will go back to the point I made 20 minutes ago. That is why I would be them, because now Jimmy Kimmel is forever linked to Epstein somewhere in some shape or some form in this way. And to the people that don't want to look any further, that don't want to do their research, that don't want to even acknowledge the fact that his name is not, in fact, on the list is out and his name is nowhere on it, including Aaron Rodgers, they'll be going around telling people that he's on it. Oh, shit, Jimmy Kimmel's on the list. Did you hear Jimmy Kimmel's on the list? Did you hear? Like, do you know what I'm saying?
I get it.
And I'm not this vested in Jimmy Kimmel's life or career, but it has bigger implications for all of us because it could be any one of us.
Listen, I get it. It's just what we're stuck with now, Kimmy. We don't have the
So you're
ability.
Just designed to accept it?
No, you have to find a way to control it, use it. I don't know what you want to call it, but Pandora's box is opened and you cannot close it.
But you don't.
So you can sit here and say, and the other part of Pandora's box that's opened, which probably could be closed, is the people who are pushing the buttons on who gets what seen and what not. That's that, I didn't even fucking hear about Aaron Rodgers or fucking Jimmy Kimmel till you said something to me. I knew nothing about it. Okay? You could ask 10 other people. They might know nothing about it. Someone's giving you that. Someone is putting that in your lap on purpose because they know it is going to make you feel some kind of fucking way. So if you want to regulate,
or you watch the news.
What?
Or you watch the news, or you read the newspaper.
Which news?
It's
Fox or
been
CNN?
on all of them.
Because
this particular subject has been on
whatever.
all of them. This is a big enough news headline. This isn't about feeding. And I understand where you're going with that. But the other issue is, too, Len, when we talk about social media, before, when we talked about even conspiracy theorists, right? Why has this grown so exponentially and so quickly? And it is social media and the internet. Because before, when you had views that weren't seen as mainstream, right? And you even sat at a bar in your little town in somewhere Pennsylvania, or your little town in somewhere Iowa, and you were the one guy at the bar, the one girl at the bar, talking about the UFOs and the tin hat, and everybody be like, oh, that's just Johnny. Oh, that's Len. You know what I mean? And then you'd go home and you'd read your books, or you'd whatever. You'd keep doing your own research, but you were in a silo by yourself, right? Not anymore. And then what happens is when you find your people, you find your clan over here on social media, and then they just double down. And then they say, hey, go find this person, go to this site and tell them how you feel about them. So it's now become, it's that mob mentality. So not only have you found your people, and not only are you being
keyboard warriors,
but you're not only being encouraged, but you're being encouraged to take action that you, under normal circumstances or 10 years ago, never would have even considered. January 6th being one of the perfect examples of that. Whether you agree with what happened or you disagree, whatever. You talk to a lot of those people there 6 months prior to, a year prior to, they would have never dreamed that they would get in their car, drive to Washington, and storm the Capitol. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And first of all, not everyone who went to Washington that day stormed the Capitol.
No.
And not everyone that went to Washington that day had an intention.
I'm talking about the people who are on trial for it right now. The stories that they are sharing are that literally 6 months prior to, a year prior to, they were a different person.
You're making my case.
Found the internet.
You're making my case. They didn't find the internet. The internet found them. There's a difference, Kimmy. Somebody is pushing the fucking buttons on what you see and what I see. It doesn't matter. We've already proven that people will believe any fucking thing.
Lenny, but I'm also telling you that they existed already.
Yes.
Conspiracy theorists have been around for forever.
Listen,
people believing in the cabal.
Go back to the 50s and 60s.
Len.
Just listen. Go back to the 50s and 60s when the CIA was training people and giving them LSD and turning them into fucking killers, and they didn't even fucking know what they were doing. It's very simple that you can convince somebody. I showed you that video earlier. The 2 red circles, the guy's like, which one's bigger? One of these is bigger. And somebody picked blue.
Do you know how it's easier to convince people?
Somebody picked the red.
Do you know how it's easier
and they're
to
the
convince
same.
people when there's real people that you're conversing with? We've talked about the pros and cons of social media.
You're absolutely right. The easiest way to convince them is this. And you know what? You know what Instagram and Facebook and fucking Twitter and X and everything does? They find that group of people.
At the end of the day, you're still an autonomous human being with a brain that functions. Are you not? Do you believe everything that you see on the internet?
Why do you buy...
I'm asking you a question, Len. I'm asking you a question. Do you believe everything that you see and read and consume on social media, in the news? Like,
no, I believe none of it.
Okay. And when there's something that piques your interest, what do? Do you try to find more information about it?
Of course.
Okay. The person, you showed me a meme. I'm sticking to the topic because I don't know. Now you're bringing up fucking shoes. Like, you showed me a meme that said Aaron Rodgers said Jimmy Kimmel was on the list, right?
Yes.
Clearly, that person does not operate like you, Lenny, or like me.
No, they're right. But the person on the left is saying something totally opposite.
This has nothing to do. How does this even have to do with this isn't a right or a left situation.
It's okay, conspiracy theorists versus people who believe everything. I don't know.
People who believe everything, but it's like if you sit down and have a conversation with me about UFOs, Las Vegas, whatever you want to talk about, I'm going to entertain you in it. Like sit down and talk to me. Tell me what you know. And whatever I take from that, I'm going to go and do a little bit more.
I already agreed with you that Aaron probably shouldn't have put that out there. Okay? And he shouldn't have. Whatever. But you can't expect someone else to think the way you think. Because that someone else is getting fucking their Kool-Aid from a different fucking jug.
You're missing the conversation that I'm trying to have with you, though. That is the fact that, once again, sitting on this couch, it comes back to people just taking at face value whatever they are given. You are not that person. I am not that person. I always want more information. I don't understand but there's a huge, huge, huge portion of the population that doesn't. You see it all the time. You see a headline. You see it.
I would say 99%.
No. But you'll see a post on Instagram in particular, right? And it'll just be a headline. And then you read the caption and you get so much more context of what this is actually about. But then if you go into the comments, you can see that 98% of the people only read the headline, never read even the caption, because they're commenting directly on what they saw. Nothing more, nothing less. And then it's funny because the people in the comments are like, bro, do you even read? That's why I always go to the comments now, because that to me is the best indicator of where we are at culturally with things, where we are at as a nation with things, how much people are reading and consuming.
But do you feel maybe that your feed and the things you're seeing are focused more towards your
That's not
beliefs.
even what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the comments. I'm not.
Even the comments,
No,
because they're feeding
Lenny,
the same people.
my shit is all no, because the comments are all over the place. Lenny, what? You're not listening to what I'm saying to you. First of all, I follow 7,000 accounts on literally on my Instagram. So I got a lot of sponsored posts. I got news outlets. I've got gossip sites. I get, because of some of the things we talk about here, I get some of the very far right posts that'll come up. I have some activists that I follow. I follow a lot of everybody. My point is, I 1,000%, when I see a headline, I automatically go, because if I feel away, I'm like, oh, I wonder how other people feel about this, right? So I read the caption first. And again, like I said, 9 times out of 10, it was clickbait, right? Whatever was in the headline, whatever that first image I saw, those first words were, when you read it, you're like, oh, hold the fuck up, right? Mm-hmm. So then you read a little bit more. When you go into the comments, though, my whole point in this is people just consuming whatever that first thing is that they see, right? That's all, that's the headline. Sometimes there'll be a whole video there, but there'll be a caption on the video. Like with our podcast. I guarantee you there are people that only see the 7 words that have been translated, right, into captions, and they make their comment based off of the 7 words.
Of course.
Not even the 30 seconds of actual dialogue that we are having. Whatever the 7 words that are highlighted on that screen at the moment when they see it.
What can you do to fix it?
What can you do to fix it? This is a personal thing. This is personal accountability, whether it's what's coming out of your mouth, what you're choosing to consume, how far you're willing to go to decipher truth from fiction, false narrative from actual fact, whatever the case may be. And then also to understanding where other people are coming from when you're having these conversations, right? Because like I said, if I were to just jump to the comments having not read the caption, I might be like, yeah, you're right. You know, or when you're seeing how people are so misguided or misinformed, much of that has to do with themselves because they're just not
Is there
reading.
any information that's real out there right now?
Oh, my God.
I'm just curious.
Jesus.
I mean, I'm just curious. Where do you get your real information? I mean, yeah, we can look at, you know, Epstein got killed died in jail. He hung himself. There's so much that says he didn't hang himself. There's so much that says this. You know, where is the real information in these little things? Okay, this is fairly real. Kimmel said this. He said this. Where people take it from there is a totally different thing. The person who saw that other feed that I showed you didn't get the real gist of it. Mm-hmm. The reason I wanted to play both those videos was really just so that people could see there's more context.
Jimmy started it.
But whatever it is, there's more context to what was said other than just that.
I get that. And I love the fact that you said that. And I love the fact that when I send you an article, right, I think it's responsible reporting or journalism when you have all of that information in there. Like, hey, by the way, if you're wondering where this came from, it wasn't out of left field. He didn't just decide to throw Jimmy's name in this. This started back then, right? Like that to me is an important piece of
context.
How, no,
that's what explains what this is.
But I told you, beyond that, what really frightened me and frightens me when I sit here sometimes, frankly, with you, is when you're reading the comments underneath it and somebody's saying, must be true if he's so angry about it, right? Or why would he be so mad about this? What's the big deal? If it's not like that mentality, it just, again, it's that willful ignorance of not understanding the power of the platform.
First off, you're expecting people, one person who lives at home in Podunk, Iowa, to understand.
It's not one person, though.
But you're expecting an individual, no matter where they fucking live, who is not a celebrity, who is not in that world, to understand the impact on Jimmy Kimmel.
Lenny, you're not a celebrity. You're not in that world, and you understand it because you're a functioning human being with a brain. Like, if you've followed social media since it's inside, we've all seen it. Like, again, it's just willful ignorance at this point to not understand the power that anything you say or do on these platforms can have and the ripple effect that comes out of it. I don't know how many times I have to go back and reference. A person got in their car and drove to a pizza parlor with an assault rifle thinking they were going to save children from a supply closet because of things they read and saw on the internet. Baseless things. No actual proof. It had been debunked so many times. They had done walkthrough tours of the pizza
Kimmy,
plate.
Again, that person could have been the only person to see specific videos that triggered him. He could be the only person. He could be the only person that was fed all this fucking crap. It's just, that's how fucking pinpoint you can put your fucking shit. So if you have a fucking crazy person that this person's a little, they take meds, and you put them in a fucking room and the lights fucking blinking all day, you're setting them off.
But they're being encouraged by the other people on the internet. That's why this is such a powerful, scary tool. That's all I'm saying, is that there's people go on social media and they say they're going to shoot up a school, and people encourage them to do so.
No, I feel you.
On public forums. It's fucking scary. Somebody will say, Jimmy Kimmel, you deserve to die. I'm going to kill you. And somebody, I guarantee you, will hit the like button next to that comment. Or be like, yeah, all these pedos need to go. All these Hollywood motherfuckers are crazy. They're all out here raping kids.
Listen, everybody who lives as a pessimist gets pessimistic stuff. Everybody who lives an optimist gets optimistic
How about
stuff.
we live in realist, where it's a little bit of both, and that's what I get on my feed.
But that is not.
I get sound bowls and motivational quotes, and I get fitness workouts, and then I get shade room.
That's based on your research and based on what you look at, and you're an educated person that is doing research on both sides and looking at both sides.
Now you're making my point.
No, I get it, but you're missing mine. Your feed might be diverse, okay? But this person who's a pessimist is not. And this person who's an optimist is not. So if you take your social media and you just say, psh, and you stop pointing that social media at specifically targeted people, then everybody sees everything.
I get it.
So you get a kumbaya and you get a go fuck yourself right next to each other. They might offset.
But what I'm saying is, or can't we use the platform that we have to encourage people to
do the research?
Do as we say?
We say that every fucking time, every show.
I know, but I can't. I don't want to stop saying it. Why would you stop saying, like, that? To me is what I said to you at the beginning. Like, it frightens me when you're just like, man, what are you gonna do about it? Then why the fuck do we do this?
It's not what are you gonna do about it. It's what can be done about it, and what your expectations of other people are. You can't expect, if you just open your eyes this much to the way our country and the people in our country are moved around to different products, to different situations. It's.
I can't expect people who know better to do better. And Aaron Rodgers should know better.
Why should he know better? He's a tin hat, fucking conspiracy wearing, fucking concussion having lunatic. Why should he know better?
It says Jimmy Kimmel. I know that that's
says
not
Jimmy
true.
Kimmel. So why should he know better?
Stop it. What do you mean?
It's just
no.
It's just
you're playing into it.
I get it. Yes, he's a celebrity. He's a celebrity in that
and
world.
An intelligent one. Because we don't think the same doesn't mean you're an idiot. Like, do you understand what I'm saying? Like, there are people out there.
He knew exactly what he was doing. He knew exactly what he was doing, but he tried to put it into a comedic context, like just taking a shot. I took it more as that. The fact that people are taking it and run with it, I wonder how many people, thought after Jimmy Kimmel, man, I wonder how fucked up Aaron Rodgers' brain is from all that fucking football. I wonder how fucked up his head is from fucking taking all those hits. It's the same thought process. He took it to the next level, but it's the same thought process. If you imply that he's got fucking cauliflower brain from getting fucking hit, and that's why he's a conspiracy theorist.
I'm not implying he's diddling children.
I'm not saying it's...
People are okay with crazy. People are not okay with paying for young children. Like, that's, those are two very, different things. And again, everybody was saying that about Aaron at that point in time.
Our point here with episode 78 is do better.
Always.
Think about what you say. It's never going anywhere. That's my biggest thing with my kids. Whatever you fucking put on the internet is staying there forever. I might have some regrets in a few years. Fuck it. I'm old enough to take it.
Also, stop lumping everybody together. Like, that's my other part of this because, again, this is not the last conversation that will be had about this Epstein list.
Yes.
And there's, again, lots of names on it. This is a much bigger conversation than just Washington or Hollywood, right? When we talk about human trafficking, when we talk about child trafficking, sex trafficking, labor trafficking, there's, people are the biggest commodity on this planet.
Yep.
And it's frightening and it's a very big conversation. But locking up, cutting, killing the cabal, rolling through Washington with the tanks and cutting off politicians' heads ain't going to stop the pedophile. Like it doesn't begin and end with them. And that to me is the bigger conversation. You know what I'm saying? Like you stop spinning this narrative. Like if you take down all of the politicians or the people on this list, that you will have effectively
made a dent,
ended sex trafficking in the world.
Not a chance.
Not even fucking close. And that's the bigger conversation. Stop getting so caught up in these hypothetical names and scenarios, and let's really get to the nitty gritty and the work. We have parents selling their children into marriages at 13 and 14.
Let's fix the problem.
Selling them for drugs. But you have to address it. It's not just a Washington thing. It's not just a 1%er thing. It's not just a rich person thing.
It's not the user. It's not the user.
That's actually a pretty powerful statement there.
It's the truth.
I'm going to leave it on Lenny saying something valuable. That was shady. I love you, Len. Anyway, obviously an impassioned conversation. Like, subscribe, share, follow. Share your comments below. I know people are going to feel a lot of ways about a lot of things that were said in this particular episode. We're here for it. Let's engage. Let's have the conversations. Do your research. Do your due diligence. Don't believe what is the saying? Believe half of what you hear, none of what you see, or half of what you see and none of what you hear.
Half of what you see, none of what you hear.
There you go. All right. We'll see you next time.
Peace.